Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors once again go out to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who continue through the Holy Spirit to give us this truth. All right, this is Nama of the DC camp, and came across this article, and this, I guess, for the most part, just lays it out plain. All right, that this whole thing was set up against us. All right, and this is not something new that we've told you time and time again. For those of you that just blind, you still love America, even though it should be clear that everybody else comes over here. I'm talking about other nations, and they prosper. And it never occurred to you. You just think that everybody's lazy. You know the ones. You know, go to college, get you a good job. Well, that's not, first of all, that's not for everybody. And you have to understand what the hell's going on. A lot of you don't, well, first and foremost, you don't understand what's going on. And when it's presented to you, you just dismiss it as conspiracy theory or some other reason. Well, you're just making excuses for your laziness and all this other bullshit. All right. And it never occurred to you that, well, first of all, we as a people are under curses because of our disobedience. All right. What you have been a victim of, for those of you that are like the people I just mentioned, what you fail to realize and what you're a victim of is that cult of Christianity, that Christianism, that your enemy taught you. All right. And that's why you are completely ignorant of what's really going on, because Christianity, as we were taught, that's not in the scriptures. That's something that your oppressor, that's his interpretation. All right, so let's get into this. This is a report, says a report exposes the fallacies of black criminality. And that's all you hear, how we were made. You know, it's always the so-called black guy, walking down the street, everybody tucking their purses in, all this shit. It's going into that. Anyway, the author's name, the Jake here, says Anastasia Risa Tompkin. All right. It says black men, here go that percentage number. It's always, man. It says black men comprise about 13% of the male population, but about 35% of those incarcerated. 1 in 3 black men born today can expect to be incarcerated in his lifetime, compared to 1 in 6 Latino and 1 in 17 white men. Black women are similarly impacted. 1 in 18 black women born in 2001 is likely to be incarcerated sometime in her life, compared to 1 in 111 white women. These statistics, found on the first page of a report by the Vera Institute of Justice, quantify the effects of the current rate of mass incarceration for brown Americans. I'm so sick of that black shit. In the report titled An Unjust Burden, the disparate treatment of black Americans in the criminal justice system, authors Elizabeth Hinton, Lachey Henderson, and Cindy Reed analyze a variety of research in order to provide a holistic and succinct overview of institutional racism, stemming from a foundation of historically discriminatory practices and policies. The discourse surrounding criminal matters, from courtrooms to news reports, is rooted in the unconscious or conscious belief that so-called black people are more prone to criminal behavior. The irony here is that what's going on with this so-called critical race theory, now our people, specifically our men, as it's stating here, Did nobody care about our mental state? Clearly, this is something that has damaged our people down through the centuries. But yet, with critical race theory, I thought about that demon Condoleezza Rice and her statement on The View when she talked about sparing the psyche of so-called white children. Why should they? And I'm listening to this demented bitch who, her along with people like Candace Owens and others, clearly they're gone. They have totally sold out. That mammy mentality. All right. Who gives a fuck? Sure, hey, this is how what this truth is, just that, the truth. This is how this devil is being exposed for what and who he is, for what he has done. Who gives a shit how he feels? Again, let me get a scripture here. I've gone too long. We should. This is Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 5. I think some of you know I'm going. It says, "For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem?" Now remember, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. "Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest?" Let's go into that. Bemoan. No one's going to bemoan you or have pity. Let's go to Strong's H5110. All right. Let's go on down here under A to Roman numeral 4. It says to show grief. The letter A after that, to lament, condole, show sympathy. Nobody. Remember this book I put up? Others like At the Hands of Persons Unknown, Without Sanctuary, those two books. All the lynchings. This 100 years of lynchings is just exposes another weapon of theirs, which is the media. They played a big part in it. The constant demeaning, just using words as weapons, the brute, things of that nature, the savage. I mean, totally dehumanizing our people and the effect that it had. All right. So who gives a shit how so-called white boy and girl, how they feel? Who gives a fuck them? The more suicides, the better. The more overdoses, the better. Because this is judgment coming back on you for what you have done. You show no mercy, you're going to receive no mercy. James 2:13. Hey, we can't fight this devil using his own blessing, which is the sword. All right, we can't beat him like that. That's his blessing. The truth was meant to bring him down. That's what's happening. All right. So it says, what the hell? Oh, Salaka. Freaking out there. Anyway, let's see. Where did I leave off? Co-authors note that a combination of disparity in enforcement of seemingly race-neutral laws, all right, along with bias by decision makers at all stages of the justice process account for the disproportionate criminalization of black people, further exacerbated by the greater likelihood of living in concentrated poverty, the ghettos. The ghettos. You came up here, that big old mass migration from around 1920 onward, maybe a little bit sooner, to the cities coming from the South. And what did they do? Because you were leaving, hell, nobody wanted to be lynched and go through Jim Crow. So what did they do? They put you all together in these experiments called projects. All right? Mm, mm, mm. Every time you tried to do something, all right, after chattel slavery, you always met with obstacles. These things were put before us in order to keep us down. Our people, despite being in hardcore slavery, usually took only one generation. Don't you know the effect that had on the oppressor? And damn, these niggers were picking cotton and sugar cane, and they were, and now these motherfuckers got going to school. They got their own businesses and they got their own homes. No, they couldn't have that. Which also illustrates how pitiful these people really are. Here it is. You've had charge over a whole nation of people for hundreds of years. And this is your kingdom. And still you're envious, jealous and envious of these people that you've had in subjection. That don't even sound right. But this is the proof. Why would you do these things? All right, why not just, hey, you know what? We promised you 40 acres and 2 mules, which originally was a thing. You know, we'll set you up somewhere else, but no. You want to keep a foot on these people's necks. Knowing this, you got to ask the question, or you should, why? Why not just, you know what? We ain't use you anymore, you know, we'll set you up. No. Now, it came to light that initially, and this is something we were not taught in schools, but slaves were offered money, although a paltry sum, to, where was it? To set up somewhere else, but like, damn, you talking about the people that all they've known, which some did, prefer to stay because that's all they've known for generation after generation after generation. That's why, what did you do? You established peonage, sharecropping system, because you knew that. You took advantage of that. So in every aspect, in every way Jake sought relief, no, you had to figure out some demonic way of getting them back into subjection. Pieces of shit. And anyway, it says, you know, we're talking about the Southern lawmakers now, and yeah, like I said, they took advantage of it. The loophole in the 13th Amendment that state citizens cannot be enslaved unless convicted of a crime. The resulting black codes, vagrancy laws, and convict leasing ensured that law enforcement would aggressively target newly freed black people. The northern states were much more subtle about it, resulting to the disparate enforcement of various laws against suspicious characters, disorderly conduct, keeping and visiting disorderly houses, drunkenness, and violations of city ordinances. which created new forms of everyday surveillance and punishment in the lives of black people to the Northeast, Midwest, and West, and it never stopped. One thing you have to realize that we as a people never were given a chance to heal as a people. All right? It's ongoing to this day. It says, following the implementation of these policies, when data was collected for arrest and incarceration rates in the United States, the prevalence of black offenders was used as evidence of their inherent criminal proclivities. So it became, oh, it's because of their race, when we know it's the opposite. Yes, Jake, let's get that real quick. Among my people are found wicked men, of course, but we are not the wicked. That's you. Let's see. Let's see. This is Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 26. It says, for among my people are found wicked men. Again, this is Jeremiah talking about his people, Israelites. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap, they catch a man. All right, but again, we are not the wicked. That's you. All right, it says, Hinton, Henderson, and Reed note that modern data analysis of crime patterns also contribute to inaccurate perceptions. It says, statistics linking black people in crime have historically overstated the problem of crime in black communities and produced a skewed depiction of American crime as a whole. For instance, in trying to understand where and when certain crimes occur, researchers from the National Commission on Law Enforcement and Administration of Justice spoke only with law enforcement agencies and officers stationed in low-income black communities. This skewed the data, which intentionally ignored the disproportionate police presence in these neighborhoods as well as delinquency among middle-class white young men, yet was used to craft strategies for the war on crime, such as increased patrol and surveillance in low-income communities of color. So this is all on by design. Remember Nixon with the war on drugs. Oh, I'm sorry, it was the war on so-called black people, because that was part of the Southern strategy. When you go into that after the Barry Goldwater years, all right, 63, 64 onward. All right, this is what this is based on. This shit here. Every election cycle is this get tough on crime shit. Who do you think the target is? And it's always been like this. This is why, what's his name on the Young Turks went the fuck off the other day. See, these immigrants see what a lot of our people refuse to see, because they done sold out. They've given up. They just bent over, How else can you put it? There's no more fight in them. They just accept the shit. Let me get which makes them what? Not wise. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 7:7. It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. What's that gift? Oh, I got a good job now. Everything's cool. Why y'all niggas complaining? Just get your lazy ass up, go get a job. That's one of those gifts. It destroyeth the heart. The heart, in the Hebrew, is lab. That means the mind. Sold out. Let's go back to the article. It says the war on crime was one of several political justice strategies implemented in the 20th century that skewed the explicitly discriminatory language of past laws in favor of seemingly neutral, there it goes again, seemingly neutral phrasing, and selective enforcement that produced different outcomes according to race. The report lists drug laws, habitual offender, and three strike laws, hotspots policing, the zero tolerance policy, and the broken windows model as the main culprits of modern attempts to disproportionately criminalize so-called black people. Another important feature of the report is its undertaking of the concept of black-on-black crime, a term that has been weaponized by the media to stoke portrayals of rampant violence within the black community, and even as a way to discredit protest against police brutality. You see how slick these devils are? The authors indicate that intraracial within your own race, community, violence among black people is in fact no greater than intraracial violence among other groups. And furthermore, that most violence occurs between people of the same race, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. However, crime is measured in a way that focuses primarily on low-income communities of color, which contributes to the myth of the prevalence of black-on-black crime. The FBI's Uniform Crime Report, considered the official measure of the national crime rate, is one that has always emphasized street crime to the exclusion of organized and white-collar crime. And yet, who's hurt the most? Yeah, guy sticks a gun in your face, takes your watch, and then you got these motherfuckers up here on Wall Street. And you know that, man, people losing their pensions. Think of Enron. All these pyramid schemers, the Bernie Madoffs, motherfuckers like that. All right. Based on these stereotypes, practices, and perceptions of black criminality, it is then no surprise that key factors within the justice system have been found to display significant implicit bias in dealing with black defenders. The very institute researchers warn that such biases impact individual stages of the process. See, they had a good thing going here. They have had a good thing going for the longest time. A lot of people in the last few years resigned their, commissions as far as being police officers because they can't get away with beating the fuck out of Jake, killing them like the dogs, in the street, like they used to, and get away with it. They long for the so-called good old days. All right. So this is one of those signs that, the curses are being lifted and put on our enemy, per Deuteronomy 30:7. Jeremiah 30:16. All right. Those that devoured us, they're going to be devoured. All right. So it says police prejudice is the precursor to justice involvement for black and brown people, as they are free to stop, search, and arrest at their discretion. All right, that's a lot of power to have over a person, right? According to the report, the best available evidence suggests that police bias toward Israelites, coupled with strategic decisions to deploy certain law enforcement practices, like hotspots policing, more heavily in black communities, so-called, increases the likelihood of encounters with police and negative outcomes like stops, searches, use of force, and arrest. Then, once a case moves to the courtroom, bias from prosecutors, judges, and jurors can lead to harsher outcomes for Israelites. For the same crime, so-called black men receive sentences on average of 19.1% longer than those of their Edomite male counterparts. Similarly, a black or Latino so-called youth are more likely to have the prosecutor request that they be tried as adults. And I'm sure you noticed that trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. All right. Oh, he's America's darling. Now, did he have a right to do? Yeah, he was within his rights. A lot of people get mad. Of course, that was something that didn't involve us. So it's like, why the fuck are you getting so emotional? That hasn't. See, and that goes in. Uh, you have to be aware when you're being manipulated. And again, you. So many of our people, unfortunately, get into their emotions because this is how they've been raised. A lot of our people have been raised by single mothers. All right. Something else that was intentional. All right. And we've just been fucked up in so many ways. It's just like, wow, it's amazing we're still here. You know, when you think of whether you believe it or not, the fact that these things did happen, no matter if the letter was false. I'm talking about the Willie Lynch letter. But these things happen. All right, no matter if the letter was real or not. There's been some dispute about that. But clearly, we've been studied. Anyway, continuing on, for time's sake, I gotta go ahead and close this out. It says a thorough analysis of the history and reasoning behind socio-political beliefs about the criminal tendencies of black people. It reveals a criminal justice system that has played a major role in perpetuating racial inequities. They have an organization dedicated to this very same thing, all right, and it's called ALEC for short, the American Legislative Exchange Council. They meet every year, I believe it's in August, in Philadelphia. And this is what, see, Formation 73. You know, that was that, during those years, Nixon declared, you know, the formation of the Drug Enforcement Administration, all right? The so-called war on drugs, which we know was a war on us. All right, but this is where all these policies are formed. The private prison industry, all this is here, right here. All right. Oh, man. He's talking about lobbying. Whoa. Got to keep those beds in those private prisons filled, and guess who's filling them? There you go. The shit never ceases, man. It's like we keep telling you, we need to get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this place. Keep your focus on the scriptures. All right. Continue to pray. Hey, we almost up out of here. You for all of us, you see what's going on, and it's like it's so beautiful. This place is falling apart. All right. It says. The report concludes with a frightening and powerful assertion that current approaches to criminal justice are extending levels of discrimination that are typically associated in the popular consciousness with a pre-civil rights era, but still exist today. In other words, this place never changed. It never had. They just found more clever ways to do shit. And our people hadn't picked up on that. A lot of our people hadn't picked up on that. They want to say things are getting better. You done lost your motherfucking mind. They still believe in that civil rights bullshit. And that only made it worse for us. All right. Before then, we had our own businesses. We actually stuck more together. After that bullshit, you know, everybody else gets our money except us. Psalms 83 is a more clever way to keep us from becoming a nation. All right. Hey, so with that, yeah, I'm going to close it out. Whoa, I hope whoever views this is edified. Again, this is a very good report by Anastasia Risa Tompkin. And it hits the nail on the head, you know. Exposes the fallacies of black so-called criminality. because this one, he's long since retired now. His last name was Fogg. I can't remember his first name. He was a deputy marshal. Let's see if I can pull him up. But he made the case that I think his nickname was on the job. They called him Batman because he was dedicated. Let's go after the bad guys. Let's get them. But when he started going in the suburbs, because he was like, "Fuck this. Let's go where the crime really at." They pulled him to the side, said, "Nah, we can't do this because a lot of these kids, their parents are lawyers and judges and doctors or whatever have you." It's like, what the fuck? Oh, let's see. Fog. Let's see. U.S. Marshall. Let's see. Here it is. Matthew Fogg. Okay. This is the brother's name. I mean, that's his name, but this is who, if you see, he's been on a few shows. Matthew Fogg, U.S. Marshal. He had to go to court on these motherfuckers. He says, according to Matthew Fogg, law enforcement is as racist now as when he entered it in 1979. See? Hey, places never change. This place, it needs to be destroyed. What's that saying in the military we had? If when it absolutely, positively has to be destroyed overnight, this is the place. Hey, so with that, shalom.